morning, everybody. It's delightful to look out and see all of us in one place and the people on the live stream as well. Very, very exciting. Thank you so much for coming today. We have some other thanks to do as well. The Tech People Committee, Joel Anderson, Jenny Blaine, Connor Callaghan, Gabe Ormsby, Joe Schneid, Ian Whitney, and Andrew Zenk. Please give them your thanks for putting all this together. Also, if any of those folks are in the room, could you raise your hand? I've got Ian, some folks in the back there. Yes, over here. If you have suggestions for this event, if you want to speak next time, seek them out and talk to them. They are taking suggestions. I hope that's okay, guys. Awesome. Also, thank you to the various organizations that have provided food throughout this event. We have OIT with the pizza for lunch. These are not in chronological order. Libraries with our morning beverages. UIS with the cookies, the foundation with donuts, and Web People, which is providing the drinks that we will have at lunch with that awesome pizza. So, introduce yourselves. One of the real benefits, and this is why it's so wonderful to look out and see everybody here, is that this is a chance for us to get together and meet our peers in a way that we don't typically do here at the university. We all work spread across a very large geographic area for one business, and we tend to be really focused on our own things. This is a moment where we can get together and get to know other people. So take some time, introduce yourself to your neighbor if it's someone you don't speak to every day. And my goal for these is always to find one person I don't know and feel like I made a genuine connection. So give that as a suggestion to you folks as well. Also, when you're not here, a place that Tech People connects is on Slack. So the link is up there. That is the place to go to sign up if you're not already part of the Tech People Slack. It's a pretty vibrant community. We don't talk just about technology, so there's talk about games and books and cooking, all kinds of different stuff goes on there. So it's a really nice community, and I encourage you to join. And we have a special guest. For those who don't know him, hi, Bernie. So our fearless leader, VP, CIO of the university, and he's going to be talking to us today about the IT ecosystems here at the university, and I will hand this mic over to him. Is that the plan? Okay.
Thank you, Marissa. Good morning, everybody. So Marissa did a nice job of encouraging you to talk to your neighbor and introduce yourselves, but I'm wondering if we could take it just a little step further, and if I could get, via show of hands, those of you who are from a unit that enrolls students, typically what we refer to as an academic unit, if you could raise your hand. Okay, good. A unit that is a support unit that doesn't enroll students in the institution. Okay, a lot of you. I want to break that down a little bit further then too. I see some familiar faces from system campuses, and I'm just delighted that you guys are here. System campus people. Do we have folks online too? Were they raising their hands? We don't know. And then again, those of you who are from the central IT organization. Okay, good. This is a really great mix. And I think that that mix is what I like to think of as the information technology community at the University of Minnesota. And I don't know how many of you have been paying attention to any of the sort of conversations that, that we've been having. Did I get it? All right. about the IT ecosystem. How many of you have either heard reference to it or maybe even heard me talk about it? Well, that's good. Okay. So I'm hoping that maybe with a little bit of introduction to this, we can make this a two-way sort of dialogue, because I'm really interested in your perception of what this means, and I really want to help you understand what kind of an environment, what kind of an ecosystem I, along with many of the IT leaders across the university, are trying to build here. And what that ecosystem is comprised of is services. But the way that services are delivered here at the University of Minnesota is through people. And that's you and all of the 1,300 technologists that are at the University of Minnesota. So when I was going through the interview process this last spring and competing for the VP CIO during that search, one of the things that those of you who were either present at those interviews or that watched online is you heard me talk about the role of information technologies at this University of Minnesota. And this is, I think this is foundational, because this is where, this goes to my core, and I hope that you resonate with it too. And that is that information technologies at the University of Minnesota support and oftentimes anticipate the future so as to help the institution deliver on its mission and support its objectives. Now let me say a little bit more about that. The University of Minnesota is all about teaching and learning, research and discovery and outreach, right? Nowhere in its mission statement does it talk about information technologies. But you can't show me one part of that mission that isn't supported by information technology. The reality, though, is that we're not Apple, we're not Microsoft, we're not Verizon, we're not AT&T. We're the University of Minnesota with a mission that involves, I think, improving the human condition. And we do that through research. And so here in this building and in other buildings in the Academic Health Center, they're working on medical research that's designed to solve physical problems and mental problems. In St. Paul, our agricultural mission there is designed to improve crop yields and really to affect an outcome there in solving that part of the world's problems. And in our liberal arts and humanities, those groups are trying very much to provide solutions to the social problems that we all experience on a day-to-day basis. And I truly believe that the students that come into this institution come in here as you know, big fish in a little pond that they came from. And when they leave here, they are productive citizens that can help us solve the world's future problems. I truly believe that that's what this mission does. In essence, I believe that this mission at the University of Minnesota is about manufacturing adults that can solve the world's problems, those problems being many. But the way in which they do that and the way in which we equip them to help solve those world's problems is to embrace the use of technologies and to support those students as they go through their academic careers. And they come in here, and like I said, as big fish from little ponds, and they come in here and they all of a sudden realize that they're part of a big place, 94,000 people across the entirety of our system, students, faculty, and staff on all 5 system campuses, and they quickly realize that they're not as big a fish as they were from where they came. But I also, and I think that there's also a lot of sausage that gets made during those 4 or 5 years, however long it takes you to graduate. It took me like 6. back when the institution probably wasn't measured on its four-year graduation rate. So they would have kicked me out if that were the case. But I really think that that is the mission that we support, and it's really important that technologies support the institution in that goal of moving those students through this system with that outcome in mind, in improving the human condition, and that takes on many forms. The way in which we provide services to these folks as they're here and to the university's mission is a really, I think, difficult challenge in a place that's this big. Information technologies represent about 6% of the institution's total spend. In the last fiscal year, the university spent a total of $219 million in just operational expenses related to information technologies. And as I mentioned, there are over 1,300 technologists across this institution that are delivering technology services in support of the mission. And so I think the greatest challenge that we have is to figure out how to arrange those services and arrange the way in which we do our work so that we're not tripping over ourselves, and so that information technologies is truly supporting the institution in its mission and in its objectives. And therein lies this notion of this ecosystem. I like to think of the IT ecosystem as a comprehensive set of information technology services that are distributed in all of the different units that are within this University of Minnesota system, whether it's on a campus, a college, an administrative unit, or in what you might refer to as a central organization. Regardless, the composition of all of those services is essentially an ecosystem. And I believe that that ecosystem has to be complementary and not competitive. Most of you as technologists have been here long enough or have been around long enough to see the rapid evolution of technologies in, quite simply, the world today. And recognizing that technology is constantly changing and that you can't have expertise in all parts of it, we have to, as technologists, be really focused on the mission. And that mission, for me, means whatever the mission is of the unit that you are in. So if you're in an academic unit and your unit's responsibility is to educate students in the liberal arts or in the science and engineering fields, your technology service delivery needs to be in support of that discipline. And if you are in a central organization, your technology support needs to be focused on those things that are commodity-like and are delivered to masses in support of those who are extending them and or leveraging them in either an academic or an administrative unit to support their mission. So the way that I like to think about this ecosystem in visual form or in graphic form, and some of you have seen this before, is, now these are eye charts. So they're not intended for you to get at a whole boatload of detail, but the detail is available should you want them. And I'm happy to share these with you. But if you're reading those monthly updates that I deliver to you, you should have seen this before, and this shouldn't be a surprise to you at all, or hopefully a new visual to you. What this ecosystem is to me is a suite of IT services that are complementary to each other and not competitive. What does that mean? It means that for those things that are commodity-like, we've just chosen that we're going to standardize on a particular platform and not worry about competing with each other as to whose platform is better. The network should just work for all of us. Let's make sure that that network is one that everyone can get access to and not compete in our network management unless there's some sort of very unique application that you're doing in your unit, like researching the way in which networks work. That would be sort of an example of something that falls outside of the need for standardization. But in large part, we just expect that network to work. What are those other infrastructure services? Those are the things that I think we ought not compete on. There are also things that might look competitive that I believe are not. And this is one of the things that I mentioned during that interview process in my public presentation. I made the assertion that we need technologists as close to the pedagogy and as close to the business as we can get them, but just far enough away to be efficient. And what does that mean? It means that we need technologists in local units that are focused on their particular mission and or that which is unique to their unit that central or commodity services can't do for them. And so as you look at this chart, what you will see, with the help of all of the IT leaders across the institution and the service architect, whom some of you may or may not have met, Phoebe Johnson, the left chart is essentially an illustration of all of the information technology services that we know about at the University of Minnesota. At a high level, what you see in the center are those services that are considered central services. Some of those services are delivered by units that you wouldn't consider to be central organizations. But in the College of Liberal Arts, CLA delivers Z.UMN. CLA delivers A+. Those are systems and or services that I don't think there's any value in competing against. Those are simply systems and services that we ought to leverage and look towards the people who provide those for their expertise to deliver them. So what I'm saying is central services in this ecosystem do not need to be provided by the central IT unit. They need to be provided by those who are experts in the delivery of those services. Another example of that is in the Academic Health Center, where Colby Reese and his team in AHCIS they have expertise in delivering IT services that keep this institution HIPAA compliant. Traditionally and historically, services have been provided within the AHC for only AHC people. What we've done over the last year is centralized on that group as being the experts who can deliver HIPAA compliant services across the entire healthcare component, no matter where it is within the University of Minnesota. So why would the central IT unit, in this instance, stand up a HIPAA compliant service for the purposes of either augmenting or driving out the people who already know how to do this really well? I see no value in that. So I have worked very closely with the leaders in the Academic Health Center and with Colby so that that group can provide HIPAA compliant services across the entirety of the institution for those who are in the healthcare component and who need to have those kinds of services because of the data that they interact with on a day-to-day basis. That, to me, is how you look across the institution. You recognize expertise no matter where it is, and you ask that expertise to provide services beyond their historical organizational boundaries for the benefit of the entirety of the institution. That's what this ecosystem means to me. And so if you walk away from this chart, and this is what I tell deans and other leaders across the institution, if you walk away from this chart on the left-hand side, it should show you that information technologists at the University of Minnesota are working closely together to deliver a suite of services that is highly integrated but distributed at high quality, high value, and efficiency, where centralization occurs in areas of expertise and not in just central organizations, and is exploited so that everyone can realize the value of that expertise no matter where you are within the university. And if you're not one of those central service providers, no need for consternation, because you may be focused on services that are really important to your particular unit, whether it's experimentation, whether it's digitization of learning objects and course production, whether it is running a business administrative system that is absolutely needed for that particular unit to succeed. Parking services is a great example of that. There are places for technologists to add value in alignment with their unit's mission. My goal is to make sure that all technologists have a clear line of sight to mission and know how they're contributing to it, and then tangentially how that contributes to the institution's overall mission. That's the concept that we're chasing here, and that's the ecosystem that we're continuously building. And so, as I was saying, if you look at this chart and you focus on the left-hand side, it ought to illustrate the fact that technologists are working together in ways that they haven't before. And if you look to the right, the message that I want people to walk away from when looking at that chart is that technologists are very aware of the costs that are involved in delivering these services and that we're managing them. Those are the two concepts that I want people to walk away from this slide with. But the most important thing is that I need for technologists to understand that delivery on the mission is crucial to information technology success at the University of Minnesota. Let's face it, we don't do technology for technology's sake. That doesn't mean that we don't show people what's possible. But we need to be in support of the institution and the things that our faculty and staff and researchers are doing on a day-to-day basis. And oh, by the way, let's not forget about the students. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover with you this morning. I don't know if you have questions about this. I think an event like this that has the representation that is as mixed as it is in this room today are really important. You know, we talked about the need for you to introduce yourself to your colleague. My thing is, our systems are expected to work together, and they can't work together if people aren't talking to each other. That's a fundamental sort of kind of principle here as we think about the IT community and how we have to work together and we have to rely on each other for each one of us to succeed. I mean, for applications to succeed, you need to rely on the people that are running that core infrastructure in the background. You can't succeed unless that person succeeds. That person can't succeed unless you're successful. And so that's sort of the concept that we've been driving towards. And I appreciate the opportunity to convey that message to you. I hope it makes sense to you. Let me know if you have questions, if there's anything that I can do to make this clearer, or if you have concerns. But I just appreciate the fact that you're all willing to come together and that I had the opportunity to talk to you about this. Thank you.